What event pushed the United States into its first major overseas war? Was it patriotism, economic interests, or maybe something more dramatic? In today's video, we're diving into the Spanish-American War, a conflict that transformed the United States from a growing nation into a global power. You'll learn about the battles, the heroes, and the pivotal decisions that reshaped history. Let's get started. By the late 19th century, Spain's once mighty empire was rapidly declining. It clung to a few colonies, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines, but independence movements were gaining momentum. The United States, on the other hand, was eager to expand its influence. This clash of circumstances would soon lead to war. In this video, we'll explore the factors that led to the war, including U.S. interests in Cuba, the explosion of the USS Maine, and the role of sensationalist journalism. We'll also dive into key battles in the Pacific and Caribbean and look at the Treaty of Paris, which marked the end of Spain's colonial era and the rise of the United States as a global power. Let's set the stage. Spain still controlled Cuba in the 1890s, but Cuban rebels were fighting for independence. By 1895, a full-scale rebellion was underway. Spanish forces responded with brutal tactics, herding civilians into overcrowded camps where disease and starvation killed over 100,000 people. The United States had its reasons to take an interest. First, Cuba was only 90 miles from Florida, a neighbor too close to ignore. Second, American businesses had millions invested in Cuba's sugar industry. Lastly, Americans sympathized with Cuba's fight for freedom. These factors made the situation impossible for the U.S. to ignore. The situation in Cuba took a dramatic turn on February 15, 1898, when the USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor, killing more than 250 sailors. Although modern research suggests the explosion was accidental, at the time, the U.S. blamed Spain. Newspapers, led by figures like Hearst, sensationalized the tragedy with headlines such as "Destruction of the warship Maine was the work of an enemy." This style of reporting, called yellow journalism, whipped up public outrage and pushed the U.S. closer to war. President William McKinley tried to avoid war by negotiating with Spain, even securing an offer for limited Cuban self-rule. But public pressure after the USS Maine explosion was too strong. By April 25, 1898, the U.S. had declared war. This marked the official start of the Spanish-American War, a conflict that would span the Pacific and the Caribbean. The first major clash wasn't in Cuba, but in the Philippines. On May 1, 1898, Commodore George Dewey's fleet destroyed the Spanish Navy at Manila Bay. With steel warships against Spain's wooden fleet, the outcome was decisive. Not a single American sailor was lost. Filipino rebels, also seeking independence, joined forces with the Americans, further weakening Spain's hold on the islands. In the Caribbean, the U.S. faced fierce battles. The most famous was the Battle of San Juan Hill. Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders, alongside African-American regiments, charged up Kettle Hill. Roosevelt's bravery made him a national hero, but the contributions of African-American soldiers were equally critical. Despite facing segregation and racism, these soldiers earned numerous honors for their valor. After 16 weeks of fighting, the war ended with the Treaty of Paris. Spain granted Cuba its independence, ceded Puerto Rico and Guam to the U.S., and sold the Philippines for $20 million. This treaty marked the end of Spain's 400-year colonial empire and the start of the United States' rise as a global power. The Spanish-American War transformed the U.S. into an imperial power, but it also sparked debates about the ethics of colonial rule. Was it right for a nation founded on liberty to govern overseas territories? This war reshaped the U.S.'s role in the world, a legacy still felt today. Now it's your turn to think critically. How did yellow journalism shape public opinion during the war? What does this war tell us about the balance between national interest and ethical decision-making? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Spanish-American War was brief but transformative. It ended Spain's colonial dominance and launched the United States into a new role as a global power. If you got a lot of value out of this video, Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and the bell so you won't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.